imagine my surprise. On my pillow lay a single yellow rose. I smiled, but when I read the card, the teardrops filled my eyes. It was the only way that you could say goodbye. You couldn't tell me to my face that you had found another.
Right, just please be seated.
It never crossed my mind you'd be untrue. So today, as I lay sleeping, you let me.
Welcome to you all. And today we've come together to say farewell to Natalie Hill, to remember her with love and respect, to celebrate her life, to commend her spirit to God's keeping, commit her body to be buried, and to comfort each other with our love and our sympathy as we mourn her passing. Memories are the loveliest things. They last from day to day. They can't get lost and they can't wear out, and they can never be taken away. And with those words, which were also the opening words of Cliff's funeral service, I welcome you to this gathering, which is made special with the spirit of love and the friendship that you bring to this time of remembering. I'm Jeanette McIntyre. I'm a civil celebrant, but having known Natalie since she came to live in the South, I just say a big thank you to Neil, to Maria, and the family for the privilege of leading this service of farewell for Natalie today. And on behalf of her family, I'd like to say thank you so very much to all of you who have come to be with them today. It's good that you're able to be here this afternoon and that you've been part of Natalie's life even right up to the end. Following the service, we'll be leaving straight away for the interment at the cemetery, and then back here for afternoon tea. So if you wish, you can stay and have a cuppa, but it would be nice if you came up, joined us up there, and then we'll all come back to have a cuppa. Now, there's a number of people today who are watching the service via live streaming, and I warmly welcome all of you. We send greetings to Natalie's sister and Margaret and her brother Terry. And to you and others watching, we hope that through the airwaves you can also feel the warmth and love of family and friends that's here in the chapel this afternoon. Now, there's the memory book at the door too that you may have noticed as you came in, and if you didn't sign it, that's family and everybody. I hope you'll do so at some stage because it's a lovely recollection of the day for the family. And there's also the opportunity to leave a donation for the Home Dean Residence Fund in the box provided, which would be much appreciated. Now, to commence our time of remembrance today, Natalie's 6 grandchildren are going to light these candles for their much-loved Nana. And so I'll ask you, 6 of you please, to come up and stand with the candles. Each of them have written their own special memory of their Nana, and I'll read each memory as their candle is lit. So first, Tricia is going to light the first candle. She's going to do it so well. And Tricia said, it's been hard to think of a memory for Nana as I have so many, all of which I'll cherish forever. Katrina and I stayed down in Tapanui a lot during the school holidays. One evening, after dinner, we went down to the park. Nana would give us a set time to be home, and back then, I think I had my pinkalicious flip-flop phone, so I would be able to keep an eye on the time. We were about an hour over time, and when we were walking home, it was around 9:30 p.m, and Nana was already walking up the road over halfway to the park. She wasn't happy at all. I got told off, and we were not back at the park for a while after that. Nana was such an amazing woman and so strong. I will miss her so much. Now, Robbie. and Robbie's memories. Making ginger crunch with Nana was one of my favourite memories as a kid. I've tasted a lot of ginger crunch since, and none are as good. I think it was her passion and baking expertise, but most of all it was the love she put into it, which she did with everything. And that's what made Nana the amazing person she was. Thank you, Nana, for all the memories that I will never forget. I love you, Nana. Thank you, Robbie. And Katrina, I'd like to light your candle. And Katrina says, along with Trisha and Rob, I'll always remember my childhood summer holidays in Tapanui at Nana and Granddad's house. I'll remember Nana's creative nature and how she would always tell people that I inherited my own creativity from her. I'll miss our strolls around the block, running errands together, and her unwavering sense of humour. And Frank. As a kid, I remember going to Nana and Granddad's in Tapanui and playing with the toys they had there for us on the mat that had roads on it to drive on. I remember that. We would play and eat Nana's ginger slice and shortbread that she had made. And Lewis. I remember gathering with Nana every year on her birthday at home then, sharing memories and telling her all about any exciting news that we had to share. We'd order fish and chips, and she would always get her favourite scallops and oysters. And Liam. Liam says, I will remember going outside with Nana to walk around the block, seeing old cars at the warehouse, and visiting her after school. Thank you very much to all of you. If you'd like to take your seats again, thank you. We honour Natalie for her inspiration and devotion to her family, her compassion, her indomitable spirit, and strength and courage to stand for what she believed in. Each of you comes with your own unique memories of Natalie, for she was not the same person to any two people, and you each bring your own special memories of her. We honour a woman who touched many lives, and will take time to hear the stories, to laugh and cry together, and acknowledge that we are different because Natalie was here. In times like these, nothing takes the place of friends, and your presence helps the family realise how valuable Natalie was to others and show what an impact her living and her dying has had on us. Natalie was very special to each of you in quite different ways. She was the dearly loved wife for 57 years of the late Cliff, the much loved mother and mother-in-law of Neil and Maria, cherished Nana of Trisha, Robbie, Katrina, Frank, Lewis and Liam. And she was a much loved sister, sister-in-law and auntie. Natalie was born in Waipukurau on the 26th of July 1933. So this year, coming year, she would have been 90. Her parents were Elsie and Charles Kingston, and she was 8th in a family of 11, 6 boys and 5 girls. And from the eldest there was Joan, Roy, Gladys, Dot, Ellen, Margaret, Fraser, then Natalie, Keith, Brian and Terry. The family lived in Waikawa in the Central Hawke's Bay, where Charles had his own bullock team and worked as a woodsman and bullockman. Charles had come from Tasmania as a young lad and eventually died in 1944 when Natalie was 11 years old, and how difficult that must have been for her mother, left a widow with 11 children, just before the end of the war. The children attended school at Waikawa, both primary and secondary school. The family had 3 cows for milking, and the calves, dogs, cats, chickens, and a goat which would pull the children around in a cart, and of course Dolly the horse for ploughing. Natalie loved sports. It's one thing about her life is that she missed. She loved to play basketball, which is now netball, table tennis, swimming, athletics, and particularly tennis. Natalie started work in 1950 at the Waipawa Telephone Exchange. I often think of the women of that time who worked in the telephone exchanges, what stories they could tell. But she remembers having the responsibility of pushing the button for the fire brigade. The telephonist then had to remain on the line until someone from the fire station answered, and the telephonist passed on the details of where the fire was. She remembers having to call the fire brigade on 3 occasions during her time at the exchange, all to hotel fires within the district. During her time there, Natalie recalled some very special and memorable occasions that related to world events. She was the telephonist operator on when the Queen's coronation was celebrated in New Zealand in 1953. A message for the Mayor came through from the Governor-General's office advising that Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay had climbed Mount Everest. Natalie had to get on her bike, leaving the exchange unattended, and cycled to the Coronation Park where the Mayor was celebrating at the town picnic. Natalie wasn't to tell another person why she was there, and handed the notice to the Mayor, who then publicly announced it, and Natalie was back to work on her bike. It was while working at the exchange in Waipawa that Natalie met her future husband, Cliff. Cliff worked in the same building at the Waipawa Post Office as a telegraphist. He was an expert in Morse code, and that was one of the things he had to do during the war, coding, decoding. This was a time when young people enjoyed a social life which enjoyed sports and, of course, regular dances in the local halls. The mode of transport was anything from cars, bikes, riding on the backs of trucks, and the roads weren't that good. At that time, the telephone exchanges usually closed about 10 p.m, and of course it wasn't the done thing for a young woman to walk home alone. Cliff would accompany Natalie to keep her safe. Their friendship soon blossomed into romance, and they eventually married in July 1955 in the Waipawa Anglican Church. Natalie recalled that they'd lived in Waipawa for 2 years in a huge homestead with shared accommodation. She remembered the beautiful wall panelling and that they lived in the ballroom. The next move was to Mangapahi in the King Country, and they were there about 3 years before moving to Wellington, where Cliff had a number of jobs, but he was postmaster at Parliament and at Seatoon. While in Wellington, Natalie worked at the Child Welfare Home, caring for children from birth to 12 to 13 years old. During their time in Wellington, Natalie and Cliff welcomed Neil into their family, adopting him at just 6 weeks old. It was quite a process. Natalie felt it was quite quick because of her work with child welfare. And it was about this time that Natalie began her lifelong battle with rheumatoid arthritis. And she juggled her early stages of motherhood with spells in Wellington Hospital during Neil's first year, then some months at Princess Elizabeth in Rotorua. A transfer to Hastings allowed them to be nearer to family and, of course, that family support, and they built a house and lived there for some years. Over the years, Natalie has undergone treatment and innumerable surgeries for her affliction. We used to call her a bionic woman. But that never stopped her indulging in her many interests: gardening, knitting, crochet, embroidery, cross-stitch, long stitch on canvas, and machine sewing. And I think the grandchildren have referred to her always having something on the go. Neil had grown up in Wellington and Hastings, but his sharing work brought himself, and he bought a farmlet at Maitland near Gore. Cliff's health wasn't the best, so he and Natalie moved out and lived there with Neil. But as Neil's family gradually grew, they moved to Waikaka, then to Tapanui, where they lived for about 10 years. Eventually, the opportunity of a flat in Balclutha became available, but before they could move, Cliff died. Just as an aside, that Cliff didn't really want to leave Tapanui. He was very happy there with the RSA, with the cards, with the bowls. And then the letter arrived to say that the flat in Balclutha was available, and Cliff died that night. So it was just one of those things. But Natalie bravely soldiered on her own and really enjoyed life here in Balclutha on Charlotte Street. But what she enjoyed most were her grandchildren, who would visit often, and she'd just glow when she talked about them. She was just absolutely proud of all of you. When Natalie and Cliff first came to Maitland, it wasn't long before she was taking part in district activities, and she became a member of Rural Women New Zealand. Natalie never let her arthritis hold her back, and she never complained. I don't know how much we can underline that. She didn't drive, and of course Cliff would take her everywhere. But when it came to rural women activities and events, I was Natalie's wheels, and we covered a lot of ground. She wasn't just a member of Rural Women, but she played a very active part, both at branch and provincial level, and became president of Eastern Southern Provincial, a position she carried out very effectively. And her handwork, what we might have thought would be difficult for her to do, she carried out with ease, creating a number of pieces like quilted, embroidered wall hangings and tapestries. I remember one she did for Rural Women that was in the alphabet, and she embroidered every letter and a bird, an animal, a native to go with it, and it was just, what happened to it? Does anyone know?
It was rainfall.
Oh, it was raffle, that's right, yes. So somebody will have a beautiful piece. But Natalie was always a pleasure to visit, always interested in people and events, and willing to do her bit no matter what. Her eventual move to Homedene gave Natalie constant company and care, and then she got her motorised wheelchair. And for someone who'd never driven a car, these wheels opened up a whole new world. She was able to go to the shops, to visit the family, or just to go for a drive. The footpaths in town were not the easiest to negotiate. Their unevenness made for some unpleasant bumps and bounces. So Natalie ensured that the voice of wheelchair users was heard by council, and that's a whole nother story. Natalie wasn't just someone to sit and do nothing. She took part in various creative activities at Homedene, and she loved doing coloured pictures, fine, detailed work that showed a very steady hand. Natalie was so fortunate to have Neil and Maria and most of the grandchildren close at hand, and she was just so proud of all of you, and she just loved to relate your latest endeavours. And so it's Frank, on behalf of the grandchildren, who is going to bring us some recollections of their Nana. Frank.
Nana helped shape who all of us grandkids are today. She influenced all of us so greatly. She was one of the strongest people we knew. She was always determined to keep her independence and mobility. She never let anything stop her from doing everyday tasks. She would always create solutions, and there weren't many things that she couldn't do. When we would all stay over, she would cook and bake for us, help us make birthday cards, and when we went outside to play, she'd always make sure we made it home before dark. As she moved to Balclutha and transitioned into the electric wheelchair, Nana on wheels was the fastest version of Nana we ever had. We'd even have to speed walk to keep up with her. It's been great having her close in Balclutha. All of us would make sure to pop in and say hi and fill her in on the latest life updates. We'd spend major holidays together, and on sunny Christmas days, us kids would walk down to escort her across the bridge and up the hill to her house. We'd have fish and chip nights and make sure to order her favourite oysters and scallops. She loved making things, sewing, colouring and baking. She loved flowers, nice clothing, seafood, pukekos, and most importantly, her family. There are so many great memories with Nana that we will cherish forever. Thank you for everything. We will miss you every day of our lives. We love you, Nana.
Thank you, Frank, and for all of you for your input. Now, we've heard all these lovely word pictures about Natalie's life, and so now we're going to watch on the screen what we might call a kaleidoscope of her life in colour. So we'll sit back and enjoy that.
Didn't know today would be our last, or that I'd have to say goodbye to you so fast. I'm so numb I can't feel anymore. I'm praying you just walk back through that door and tell me that I was only dreaming. You're not really gone as long as I believe. There will be another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight. Always made my troubles feel so small, and you were always there to catch me when I'd fall. In a world where heroes come and go, well, God just took the only one I know. So I'll hold you as close as I can, longing for the day when I see your face again. But until then, God must need another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight, singing hallelujah. Just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight.
Thanks for putting those together. It's lovely to hear the words we've heard and the pictures of Natalie's life, and their precious memories of a life so well lived, through adversity, but with love, so much love and support. But they're memories that will never be lost, and as long as there's family and friends to remember them and hold them in their hearts. Because the most beautiful things in life aren't things, their people and places and memories and pictures, their feelings and moments and smiles and laughter. And that seems to sum up Natalie's life. Natalie was dealt a hand that none of us would want. She was an active, outgoing young woman who loved to play tennis and other sports, and then came the crippling rheumatoid arthritis, which she lived with for so much of her life, starting about when she first became a mum, and it was something that you wouldn't wish on anyone. But Natalie had that indomitable spirit. She wouldn't let anyone feel sorry for her. She and Cliff had a great partnership. He was such a great support for her. They were always looking out for each other, and she so missed him when he died. Her life truly is an example of overcoming the odds and making the most of every moment. You know, it's not the big corporate giants who make this world tick. It's the people like Natalie, a kind and loving wife, a caring and talented mother and grandmother, someone who was strong in spirit, never letting life's difficulties get her down, caring for others and her community, always a smile and never a complaint. There's much that we can learn from her life. But now it's time for us to take our leave of Natalie. The many people whose lives she's touched will remember her with deep love, deep affection, and with warmth. The story of her life has ended, but the part that she played in ours continues to affect the people that she cared about. We're comforted to know that there's no more pain, that her spirit is free, and that she leaves this life satisfied in the knowledge that she gave so much of herself in all that she aspired to do. Natalie's now at peace, and I know that she would hope that her family, her friends, and everyone who cared for her can also find peace, knowing that they always gave their best when it was required. So this service has provided for a while a time and a space for remembering, a time for celebration and for mourning, a time to acknowledge, honour, and say farewell to Natalie. I'm going to ask grandchildren if they would come up and extinguish the candles, please, and just remain there. Katrina, if you'd just like to take the snuffer, do the wee snuffer there. Just one at a time. Hold it down, thank you. We just remember that with extinguishing the candles, we're not putting out the light. It's just that a new dawn has come. Thank you to all of you. Now I'll ask you all please to stand for the blessing. Natalie, we will always wish that you'd stayed longer with us and that you had not left us. But we'll now set you free as you travel into a new day. You are strength and inspiration to those who knew you. We have known you, we have loved you, and we remember you. You've loved us, and you've shown us goodness. We are glad that you lived, and we celebrate your life as we mourn your passing. Rest in peace. And now let us depart in peace, and may the love of family and friends, the radiance of memory and the power of love fill us all with courage, strength, joy, and peace as we say goodbye.
place the casket on the centre of the rollers, just lifting her casket up. And then we're going to roll the casket into the hearse. Well done, boy. Just like a few minutes before we get ready to head off to the cemetery. We'd like to put them in our car. Folks, if there's anyone that's not going to the cemetery, you're more than welcome to place some rosemary to say goodbye now if you're not going to the cemetery. Anyone's not going to the cemetery, you're more than welcome to place some rosemary. I'm not sure if you're going or not. Is there anyone who would like to travel in the hearse? Neil? Would you like to go for the last drive with your mum? Perfect. We're going to make our way to the cemetery in a few minutes, so if you'd like to make your way to your vehicles, and we'll head up to the cemetery.
a close, and now it's time to let her go. We come together with sadness in our hearts to bid her farewell and to comfort her family and each other with our love and our sympathy as we mourn her passing and thank her for the privilege of having known her. Even though her death has meant a physical break in the links of the chain that binds you to each other, the influence and effect of Natalie's life will always be evident. In love and respect, we remember her as a much-loved and treasured member of the family. Natalie, the many people whose lives you have touched will remember you with love, deep affection and warmth. The story of your life is ended, but the part that you played in theirs continues to affect the people that you cared about. Farewell, Natalie. We release you into the warmth of our memories, and we commit you into the eternal circle of life. We free you into the embrace of nature. After the clouds, the sunshine. After the winter, the spring. After the shower, the rain. For life is a change. After the night, the morning, bidding all darkness cease. And after life's cares and sorrow, the comfort of sweetness and peace. Natalie will now be part of this restful place through all the seasons and for all time. Through the long, warm days of summer, the cold and chill and storms of winter. Through the freshness, green and flowering of spring, and the mists and fine colours of autumn, she will be at rest and in peace. Natalie, you remain part of our world, and you'll remain part of our lives. You're with us as we remember and as we say goodbye. Rest now in the love of your family, in the high regard of all around you. Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, and dust to dust. Rest now at the end of the day, your work is done. Tenderly and reverently we will commit Natalie's body to the Mother Earth and to nature's keeping, grateful for the life that has been lived and for all that her life meant to each union. She is at rest at last with her dearly loved. May you all find richness and example in your memories of Natalie. May you find strength and support in your love for one another, and may you find peace. Flowers blow and that's okay. You can step up onto the grass.
Could you leave us all behind? So much to say, but there's too little time. How do I say goodbye? Someone who's been with me for my whole damn life. You gave me my name and the color of your eyes. See your face when I look at mine. So how do I say goodbye? When I couldn't, you always saw the best in me. Right or wrong, you're always on my side. But I'm scared of what life without you is like. And I saw the way she looked into your eyes. And I promise if you go, I will make sure she's alright. So how do I say goodbye to someone who's been with me for my whole damn life? You gave me my name and the color of your eyes. See your face when I
Before we leave our frozen, we'll sacrifice remembrance before you leave food frozen places.
Just there in Stirling here. I think they might have just gone what we got in the place. One year was free, so one year I think
And they can't look.
Just short that day for us. just for kids, sort of. Yeah, the summer camps, they sort of have. That they've got a sort of but you do sort of take lunch break. But lunch break, you get 4 weeks to sort of.
Do you want to keep it?
You don't really make any money.
You can have it.
Just
I've got something for you when you go down again. Sorry, God, I've got a wee present for you. Hey, you come and see me when we get back down then. I've got something for you.
Yeah. I need more than stuff.
Yeah, no, so I had it not long ago.
Know anybody in here now?
Yeah, a couple just looking around here. Yeah, I just, a few.
Few names there.
Robin?
Few names there. That one is in Dutch. Yeah.
I see one.
Arms.
Good. This is,
See this baby?
Two weeks old. 2 months.